What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today, look, we're going to look at some more cards from OP-06. I'm going to tell you they're ridiculously good. I'm going to use the word broken at some point, probably. I'm sorry. There are really good cards in OP-06. And I am like cherry picking the best card reveals to show you. There's been so much news at the moment showing you all these mech cards. It's just not on the cards, all right? Can't be done. Not on the cards. But I'm telling you, I keep showing you really ridiculously good cards and telling you they're broken because Bandai keep revealing ridiculously good cards that look broken. I showed you the Onami the other day, which has got Banish. But actually, it's not got Banish itself. You give your leader or one of your characters Banish for the turn. Oh yeah, and as a trigger, you get to KO one of your opponent's rested 5-cost or lower characters, which is ridiculous. And then, we got these other cards here today, which are also ridiculous. We got a new stage, we got the last two super rares, I think they're the last two super rares, and I'll be honest with you, one of them is pretty good, and one of them is ridiculous. So let's start with that new one, which is, and I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say this, ridiculous. So we've got Kozuki Hiyori here, and we've got a yellow, we got 2 cost, 0 power, counter plus 2,000. And look, anything with counter plus 2,000 is instantly kind of playable, because a lot of these counter plus 2,000 you're going to use as the counter anyway, yay! But it's actually really good. You see, what you do is on play, you put the top card of your life, or the bottom card of your life, to your hand. As a fun little side note, I did the translation myself. Cool. And that's actually really good. You get yourself card advantage, which is lovely. But there's more than that, because then you put up to 1 card from your hand on top of your life. This is ridiculous. This is absolutely flat out ridiculous. I've seen some people claiming this card isn't that good, and as always, I want to hear from you guys in the comment section. Tell me if I'm being overly ridiculous here, but this seems absolutely absurd. Like, take something like Sanji from OP-03. Sees a bunch of play, another counter plus 2,000, very good card. Dawn X2, when attacking, add the top or bottom card of your life to your hand, and then add a card from the top of your deck to your life. And one of the great things about this card is it increases the chances of having a card of a good trigger on top of your deck, which is obviously one of the things Yellow is always going for, trying to get good triggers on top of their deck. But it doesn't guarantee it because you're putting the top card of your deck in your life. It could be basically anything. Here, you are gaining a card. That's really good because now you've got an extra card in hand. You've got an extra card to use. That's lovely. And then you are putting a card from your hand on top of your life. So you are choosing which card to put in your life. You are stacking your deck. And I love that. Because Yellow's got some really good triggers that it can go and use. Like, everybody's playing Capone Beige in their Yellow deck at the moment. They should be. It's a great card. But one of the really cool things about that card, in fact, the reason why it sees play, is for the trigger that basically says you can choose one of your opponent's characters and they can't attack next turn. Which is brilliant, or indeed their leader if you prefer. So you can put this there, and that's basically, it's either counter plus 2,000 or it's trigger. It's not good as an attacker, but you either want it for a counter or you want it for the trigger. Well, here, you can either counter with it, or you can have it in your hand and put it on top of your deck to guarantee the trigger comes out. Or, you know, Yellow's got blockers that have a trigger that lets you play, like Charlotte Brûlée, very good card that we see a lot. Or there's a Sanji, actually, as well, which also has blocker and trigger. So essentially, you put it on top of your deck, and then it comes out as a trigger, and you know it's coming out as a trigger because you literally put it on top of your deck. And then not only do you get a blocker in play, but you get it for free. Instead of playing free to put Charlotte Brûlée into play, you just put it on top of your deck, and then it naturally comes out as a trigger, and you're like, ha, got it, now I've got this, and that's lovely. Or you can do the same thing with Sanji, although remember you do have to trash a card from your hand in order to play Sanji as a trigger, but it's also got 5,000 power rather than 1,000 power, so a lot of the time it's going to be worth it. And that's kind of where I'm going with this. And then of course it gets even better, because let's say you combine this with the Charlotte Katakuri leader. When attacking, you get to look at 1 card from the top of your or your opponent's life and put it at the top or bottom. So before you draw your card here, your life card, you can actually use your leader to look at what it is. And if it's a card you want to draw it. If it's not a card you want to draw, put it on the bottom of your deck. And sure, you're then drawing a random card. But at least you've got that second chance. And everything about this card makes me happy. The counter isn't, okay, not attacking. It's terrible as an attacker. It's got 0 power. But basically here, you've got counter plus 2,000, which is great. You're gaining a card advantage when you play it by getting an extra card, which is great. And then you're stacking whatever trigger you want on top of your deck, which is great. I mean, look at something like Shirahoshi. That just got 1 billion times better. That is another card that we see in yellow all the time, absolute staple in yellow, and it's a very similar kind of thing. Terrible attacker, but great trigger. On play, draw 3, trash 2. So you never pay 5 to play Shirahoshi. You just get it in your hand and stash it until you can play this and play Shirahoshi for free. This card is nuts. This card is ridiculous. I don't know, I've shown you some ridiculous cards from OP-06 so far in these videos. Yes, I have. This is just another one. Want one more? Basically, Bandai turned around and went, hang on a second. Law and Zoro decks are pretty good right now. This ban list isn't doing everything we were hoping and we're reversing it sooner. Let's just give a stage that wrecks those decks. And they did. They went and gave us the lovely new stage, Arc Maxim. A 1-cost stage, ridiculously cheap. And it reads, activate main once per turn. You have to rest this and one of your Enel in play. And then you KO all of your opponent's characters with a cost of 2 or less. Yeah. That's a bit ridiculous. And we know that, you know, these kind of decks like Law and Zoro, they love playing these low-cost cards and beefing them up using other cards. Well, that's going to be a bit of a problem now. This KOs all of them. Now, you do have to rest an Enel, and there's 2 ways of doing this. Obviously, we have an Enel leader in OP-05, so what you can do here is just play this in an Enel deck. And if you play this in an NL deck, then you will always have one on the field, and you can just rest it to activate this. And you give up your leader attack for the turn, but you get to use it. Or you can play it in another yellow deck and use the character NL, which is a 7 cost, and you got to draw into it, and then you got to keep it on the field and all of that, and it's a lot more awkward. I think you kind of have to use this in an NL deck where that's your leader, but technically you can use it in another yellow deck just by playing the character. It's going to be awkward. It literally says, this card and your NL, one piece, rest them, i.e. rest this stage and one of your NL, but it can be a character or a leader, either will be fine. But it's a 1-cost stage, so you ain't paying much to get it into play, and it will get all of your opponent's 1 and 2 cost characters or 0 cost characters. Brilliant. If you want to be super cheeky here, and I kind of do, we do have a yellow and black leader. We do have Charlotte Linlin, who is a yellow and black leader, so that you can actually play this stage, which is yellow, with a whole bunch of black cards that reduce cost, because remember, black cards do reduce cost. There's a lot of them out there that do. And then you can actually bring, you know, take the Kazan. And look, I know we're getting towards a big, stupid combo here. I acknowledge and I accept that we're getting towards a big, stupid combo here. Right, I've said it. Let's move on. Think about the Kazan, the secret rare, the 10-cost Kazan that reduces all of your opponent's characters by -5 cost just by virtue of being in play. If you can get this and an Enel into play, then you can get really dumb here. And now all of a sudden, it's basically all of your opponent's 7 cost or lower characters every single turn, as long as you can keep a Nell and this stage on the field. I love it. It's so dumb. You all need to play a yellow and black leader in order to pull that off, and you have got your 10 cost Kazan. And now keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on this stage with low cost NL, because as it stands at the moment, the only one we've got is the 7 cost from OP-05. That's the only NL card that we've got that isn't a leader, which actually really helps to control this stage. But is that going to carry on? Are we never going to get another Enel card for as long as this game survives? Maybe not. I think there's a chance we do, though. And if we do get another Enel, say a 2 or a 3 cost, then all of a sudden this stage becomes way better. And like I say, playing yellow and black, and presumably we're going to get more yellow and black leaders at the moment. Like, at the moment, I love this as a dumb, stupid combo, but I acknowledge the fact that this stage, plus the Kazan, plus having to play a Charlotte Linlin deck, and having to get the 7 cost Enel is a bit stupid. But if we get, say, a 2 or 3 cost Enel and a decent yellow-black leader, I don't know. This could be fun. As it is, though, pop this in an Enel deck. It's a 1 cost stage, and it's absolutely ridiculous in terms of getting rid of 1 and 2 cost characters. Like, what you get, you have to rest this stage and your leader for a turn. And the benefit you get from that against some decks is absurd. And what's going to happen a lot of the time is your opponent's just going to go, ha 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 ha, joke's on you, I'm not going to play these 1 and 2 cost cards that I want to play. But I made this point many, many times before. If your opponent is deliberately not doing stuff they want to do to try and slow you down, that's a win for you. Now, those 2 are the ridiculous cards that have been revealed, and I do think they are ridiculous. But there is one other card, it's a last super rare that's been revealed from the set, so we should at least have a little bit of a gander at it. We've got ourselves Aramaki, and I believe this is the first Aramaki we've had in the game so far, since it started. And we've got Blocker, and activate main once per turn, discard a card from your hand, return a cost 2 or lower character to the bottom of its owner's deck, and then this character gains 3,000 power for this turn. Yeah, I don't think this is quite on the same level as broken as the other 2 cards I've just shown you, but you put this all together and you got an 8,000 power character, which is decent. But then what you do is you discard 1 card from your hand, which really isn't very much. And then you get to bump a 2 cost back to your opponent's deck. It could be one of yours, but it's going to be your opponent's more likely than not. And then you're an 11,000 power blocker. 11,000 power blocker is good. I mean, I don't need to tell you that we've never had an 11,000 power blocker, do I? And look, I am well aware that you can beef up blockers to above 11,000. There are ways to go about doing so. And I understand that this was another one that we're actually beefing up. So I know it's a little bit of a falsehood. All right? I understand it. I accept it. Still very, very good, though. Really good. And in fact, I'm having a look over on onepiece-cardgame.dev, because if you want to search for One Piece stuff, that's the best site to use. And I'm seeing the biggest blockers we've had so far are Green Luffy, that's the film one from OP-02, and Green Kid from the starter deck. They are the 2 biggest blockers we've had. There are some bigger cards that have blocker in, but they're actually cards that stop you activating blocker. They don't actually have blocker themselves. They both have a rush, weirdly. Oh, it's Luffy and Shanks, all right? They have rush and they stop using blocker. They don't have blocker. But Luffy and Kid seem to be the biggest blockers we've had so far at 7,000 power, which instantly makes this the biggest blocker we've ever had. And I know it's naturally 8,000, but it's really easily bumped up, to 11,000. And that's kind of amazing. And I love this. And I'm not sure for how long this is going to carry on. And maybe we'll get some bigger blockers down the line. I don't know. But right now, this is actually really cool. I still don't think it's on the same level of broken as the other cards I've shown you in this video. But getting to bump one of your opponent's characters, while also being an 11,000 power blocker, that's really significant. That is something that I have absolutely got my eye on. Right, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's what you need to know, and now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about these cards. Tell me if you're as excited by them as I am. Tell me if you think they're as broken as I do. Tell me anything you want to tell me in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.